The personality you built to survive is now suffocating you. You've spent years becoming someone people could accept, someone who doesn't rock the boat, someone who fits. And now, even when you're alone, you don't recognize yourself. The personality you built to survive is now suffocating you. And the worst part? You don't even know where it ends and where you begin. You've been performing for so long that the performance feels like reality. You laugh when you don't find things funny. You agree when you don't actually agree. You shrink yourself in rooms where you should take up space. And somewhere beneath it all, there's a version of you that you buried, not because it was wrong, but because it wasn't safe. This isn't just insecurity. This isn't imposter syndrome. This is something psychology calls the adapted self, a protective identity you constructed brick by brick to navigate a world that punished your authenticity. The problem is those walls that once protected you are now your prison. Here's what you need to understand first. You are not broken. You are not weak for adapting. Every human being does this. Your brain was doing exactly what it evolved to do, ensuring survival. Psychologist Donald Winnicott called this the false self. Not false as in fake, but false as in not fully you. A version of yourself built to meet external demands while protecting your core. The tragedy isn't that you created it. The tragedy is that you forgot it was a construction. You started believing the mask was your face. Let's talk about why this happens in your brain. When you're young, your nervous system is learning one primary lesson: what is safe. If expressing anger got you punished, your brain tagged anger as dangerous. If showing sadness made people withdraw, your brain learned that vulnerability equals isolation. So your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning and social behavior, started building scripts, ways to behave that minimized threat, maximized acceptance. This is called social conditioning layered on top of attachment adaptation. You weren't consciously choosing to be inauthentic. You were unconsciously choosing to be safe. And your brain rewarded you with relief every time the strategy worked. That relief became reinforcement. Over time, the adapted self became automatic, default, invisible. But here's the problem. What your amygdala, the brain's threat detector, learned to fear as a child isn't actually dangerous anymore. You're not that powerless anymore, but your nervous system doesn't know that. Your adult self is still running old software, still protecting you from ghosts. So how do you step out of the cage you built? Not by smashing it, not by finding yourself in some mystical sense, but by gently recognizing what's yours and what's armor. Here are 5 psychological principles that create the path back. Practice behavioral disaggregation. Start noticing when you're performing, not to judge it, just to see it. Psychologists call this metacognition, thinking about your thinking. Ask yourself, is this what I actually want to say or what I think I should say? Am I laughing because it's funny or because I'm nervous? The goal isn't to stop adapting immediately. The goal is to see the gap between your authentic response and your conditioned one. Awareness is the first crack in the armor. Identify your core emotional truths. Most people don't know what they actually feel because they've spent years translating their emotions into acceptable versions. Start asking, what do I feel before I decide what I should feel? Neuropsychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett's research shows that emotions aren't universal reactions. They're constructed predictions your brain makes based on past experience. If your past taught you that certain feelings were unacceptable, your brain learned to skip them entirely. Journaling helps. Not journaling about your day, journaling about the split-second feeling you had before you dismissed it. That's where you find yourself. You don't leap from performance to full authenticity overnight. Your nervous system won't allow it. Instead, run micro-experiments. Say one true thing in a low-stakes environment. Share one small preference you usually hide. Express one small boundary you typically wouldn't set. This is rooted in exposure therapy, the same principle used to treat anxiety. You're teaching your amygdala that authenticity doesn't equal danger. Each time nothing catastrophic happens, your brain updates its threat model, slowly but genuinely. Distinguish between adaptation and self-betrayal. Here's the nuance. nuance most people miss. Not all adaptation is toxic. We all adjust our behavior in different contexts. That's called social intelligence. The question is, does this adaptation cost you your dignity? Psychology distinguishes between flexible authenticity and self-abandonment. Flexible authenticity means you're still connected to your core values, even as you adjust your expression. Self-abandonment means you've severed that connection entirely. Ask yourself, can I still feel myself in this moment? Or have I disappeared? That's your compass. Rebuild your internal locus of evaluation. Psychologist Carl Rogers introduced the concept of locus of evaluation, where you look to decide if you're okay. Most people have an external locus. They need others to approve, validate, confirm. The adapted self lives entirely in external evaluation. The authentic self requires an internal locus. This doesn't mean you ignore feedback. It means you develop the capacity to know what's true for you, independent of approval. Start small. Make one decision today based purely on what feels right to you, not what's logical, not what others would choose, what you want. This is the practice of re-inhabiting yourself. Here's the simple mental model to carry with you. You are not one fixed thing. You are a dynamic system navigating context. The adapted self was one strategy. It worked when you needed it. But survival mode is not the same as living, and protection is not the same as growth. The personality you built to survive served you. Honor it, thank it, and then let it soften. Because the person you actually are has been waiting underneath this the whole time. Not louder, not more impressive, just more real. And that person doesn't need to perform to be worthy. They already are. You don't have to announce this shift to anyone. You don't have to burn everything down. You just have to begin noticing. The moments you shrink, the moments you expand, the moments you disappear, and the moments you return. The cage you built is not locked. It never was. You've just been standing inside it for so long, you forgot you could walk through the door. And maybe that's enough for today. Just one step toward the version of you that doesn't have to survive anymore. The version that gets to live. You were never the performance. You were always the person underneath.